Hi, Democrats. Today is Wednesday, March 22nd, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Wednesday. So we are 13 days away from an election in most counties. It's either school board or city council or court clerk, but we are 13 days away. So if you haven't done your research yet, go do your research and make sure that everyone knows. We have an election coming up. It's because it's not for president and because it's not for Congress, it kind of feels like nobody's talking about it. And so I want to make sure that everyone is aware that we are less than 2 weeks away from an election. So if you're not seeing the signs, I know they're not talking about it on TV in Tulsa. You may not know. So make sure that everybody you know knows. Because every election counts. Every election has consequences. Some of those consequences are good and some of them are not so good. And currently in our state, a lot of them are not so good. But the only way to change it is not through complaining on Facebook. It's not through having little conversations at your home. It's by showing up at the ballot box and taking like-minded people with you. That's what we have to do right now. And as I talk about consequences, I think about guns in Oklahoma. I say this all the time because I believe it to be true, that our legislators are always looking for ways to get more guns in the hands of more people, and safety be damned, right? It's just more guns because of some right that they've made up, more guns in more hands. Right now, there's a bill, HB 2139, working its way through our legislature that's trying to make it where guns and knives are okay in school, on school grounds in certain circumstances. What circumstances? Guns and knives on school grounds. There is a bill. Someone took the time to write up a bill. It made it through committee, and now it's working its way through the legislature to make sure that we have that under certain circumstances that guns and knives are allowed on school grounds. You know, something came out yesterday about what happened in Uvalde. And if you guys will remember, Uvalde is where the guy went in and shot up all of the elementary school students down in Texas. And there were swarms of law enforcement officers on the ground. Some of them were in the building, but no one went in and saved the kids, right? And so it's come out where they've asked them, why? Why didn't you go in? What's going on? And the consensus is they didn't go in because they were afraid. They were afraid of they could hear the AR-15 as the assailant was shooting students. They could hear it, and they were afraid of that particular weapon. It's just Texas, folks. It's just south of us. They were afraid to go in. And our legislators are trying to figure out ways so we can have guns and knives on school ground. Who is protecting our students? And do our students only need to be protected from history that their parents don't like, or should they be protected from weapons? Our students need to be protected from students who are their friends right now because of their gender identity, but they don't need to be protected from weapons, at least not in Oklahoma. I am exhausted by the hypocrisy and the doublespeak that comes from the majority in our legislature. I'm exhausted, but they get to do it because they are the majority. They get to do it because they are a majority, and enough Oklahomans aren't voting for change. We're not voting for the legislature that we want. And so we end up getting the legislature that we get. Show up and vote every time there's a ballot with your name on it. It's just that simple. And we have nowhere to go but up. Oklahoma is dead last in voter participation. So we could fix that really simply by everybody just showing up. So the election that's happening on April 4th is going to have very low turnout, because traditionally when it's not a November election, we have low turnout in Oklahoma. We have low turnout in November, but we have really low turnout when it's not in November. So I'm here to tell you that we have an election in April all over the state. We're all voting for different things, but all over the state, there's a ballot with your name on it for April 4th. So I'm asking you to please do your research and show up. Take some folks with you. We've got to change the trajectory of what's happening with our elected officials in Oklahoma. We get what we get because only 1/4 of eligible citizens bother to cast a vote. 1/4. We can change that. Show up, take some folks with you. I'm doing my part. I'm telling the folks who happen across my video that there's an election on April 4th. I'm asking you to do the same thing. Make sure that everyone knows that there's an election in Oklahoma. There's an election on April 4th. In Oklahoma County, there's a court clerk. In Tulsa County, there's school boards. All over the state, there's going to be ballots. Please participate. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15.